The views and opinions on this show are for entertainment purposes only. The only factual information is any story that has happened to AT2 or the parties involved. Other than that, go ahead and get you a drink, get you something to eat, just relax and enjoy the show. Let's have fun. All right, y'all, let's get real. What's up, everybody? This is going to be a very entertaining show. It's going to be great dialogue. I have a special guest for you guys. I guess today is like guest co-host week. I didn't let y'all know, but that's what we calling it from now on. Let's go ahead and get into the show, y'all. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Talk the Real Deal with AT2. And yes, I'm your boy AT2. How everybody doing? How everybody living? How everybody feeling today? So I just want to start out by saying this whole TD Jakes Diddy connection, it's a lot to it. And I have a difference of opinion, so this is why I wanted to bring on another guest so we can kind of have a good dialogue and discussion. So we're going to mix some of this messiness with the church sector. It's going to be a good show. But let me say what's up to the people before we start. What's up, Kitty? What's up, Ebony? What's up, Mystic? What's up, D-Dot? I see you guys. Mike, Super K, Bernetta. I see a lot of y'all in here. Latricia, Starneek. Thank you, Denitra, for holding it down. And yes, shout out to our sponsors, Inspired by Candle Company. Make sure you check out Brandy and her company. Yes, this is Black owned. The candles smell great. Please check them out. And also use my promo code AT210 for 10% off on your order. It's pinned up right at the top. As well as I did drop the link for our guest. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce our guest. So coming live to the show is the Juice Radio and Talk Show.
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing?
Thank you for being here. Can you tell them a little bit about your channel for the people who don't know you?
Okay, so our channel, the Juice Radio and Talk Show, it was established, is actually part of the umbrella of our ministry, Truth and Triumph Ministries. Truth and Triumph Ministries has been out on YouTube for a while. It has low viewers, low subscribers because it has the word ministries in it. But Truth and Triumph Ministries was created so that we could get people to know the truth about Jesus Christ, the truth about the Bible, the truth about things. And it also was calling out pastors that were doing wrong. So we wanted to get that out there, and we were having a hard time trying to reach the viewers and subscribers because it had the word ministries. And it's also, it's a legit 501c3 church ministry. I do have a ministerial background. I am an ordained minister. I am an ordained pastor. But we were just having problem trying to reach the masses. So I prayed about it and talked to God, and I said, Lord, I need a way to reach the people. I need a way to reach the people because there's a lot of mess that's going on out in this world, calling it Jesus and calling it Christian, and it's messiness, and people are getting hurt. They're being turned away from the church. I need a way to reach them to tell people this is wrong. You don't have to keep putting up with this stuff, basically calling out wrong pastors. So as I was talking with God, he gave me this name, the Juice Radio and Talk Show, because I did radio. I was a radio host years ago.
You have the voice too.
Thank you. And so I said, well, we want to do a talk show. So he said, well, throw that in there. So that's how the name, the Juice Radio and Talk Show, came about. We're not about the tea. We're about the juice. We can be nice and sweet, but we're going to talk about these pastors. So as that name got out there, that's when people started coming because they want to hear, what's the juice? What's the juice?
Right.
And we also did that because that way we can bring them in. They're thinking they're going to get the messiness. They're thinking they're going to get the gossip. They're thinking they're going to get all that. We talk about the same topics that other people and bloggers and influencers talk about, but we bring the nice to it. We bring the laugh, we bring the joy,
Right.
and also we give God in it. So we sneak them in.
And also too, like, with the name juice, like, instead of the word tea and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I feel like the way you deliver a message is awesome. And I feel like a lot of people can learn that, because I feel like there's a certain sector where people feel like you have to be so clickbaity, or even like
No,
just mean spirited. Like, sometimes you
you
ain't got
don't.
to do all that. Like, you
You
can
don't.
deliver a message, a powerful message, without having to cuss or call somebody a name.
Absolutely. And one of our main slogans that we have on our channel is, we're here to bring the message, not the mess. We're not here for the mess. We're here for the message. And so, even in these whole situations and all that stories and news and stuff that's going on out there, you can still learn from this stuff. Our main program that we have, because we run several, we talk about the reality TVs, we do that too. We talk
Hmm.
about the news, but our main thing that we have is our church news night, and that's on Thursday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And when we do that show, that is, we will find pastors that are doing things that are wrong, church members, if you're doing stuff that's wrong, if you're hurting the body of Christ or hurting people, we're going to call you out. And
Right.
but we also give acknowledgement to churches that and pastors that are doing it right. And
Hmm.
we also have our Bible study on Wednesday night, where we study the Word of God through our Bible study, and we take our time with it. And we're not like some of these theologians that are, oh, they're using all these big words that they had to look up in the Hebrew text and all that stuff. We break it, we break it down to simple, because that's from my teaching background. Simple, just simplify it, make it easy for the people
Right.
to understand. And we believe in just doing this thing together. So our main thing also, we love to share love and unity collaborations like you're doing right now. And we just want to bring social media to a place where people can enjoy it again. It can be loving and kind, respectful, get rid of the
Right.
mess, and get back to where social media was supposed to be. And that's, people can connect with one another and be in different parts of the world.
Exactly. And I love that message too, by the way. And while we talking about juice, we actually have a lot of juice today.
A lot of juice.
So get your cup ready. You might need to put a napkin underneath, because the juice gonna be overfilling. So the
Hmm.
point of today's show is really about this whole connection between TD Jakes and Diddy. We have two people that have been accused of horrible things.
Yeah.
One, we still don't have clarification on. And then the other, I mean, they haven't had any indictments come. However, there's been a lot going on with home raids and, a lot of other things. So, how these two people mesh. So, let me start out with this question first.
Yeah.
Do you find TD Jakes and Diddy's relationship questionable, or you do not have a problem with it? Because let's be honest, TD Jakes isn't the only pastor that, crosses over in the secular world
Right.
and stuff like that. So go ahead.
When I followed this story, and I wasn't following it too much at first, and then when I started getting into it, because I said, well, it's kind of odd to me that such a well-known pastor like Bishop T.D. Jakes would be at an event of a party of Diddy. Now, I would
Mhm.
see T.D. Jakes and Diddy being together for maybe counseling sessions, something like that,
Right.
maybe something to help encourage him, or something to that magnitude. But to be at an event, I thought, okay, what type of event? And then when I heard it's a birthday party, I thought, okay, maybe it's just a simple birthday party. And I was okay with that. But
Mhm.
then when I started researching what kind of parties did he throw, I said, hold
Okay.
on.
So do you
Um,
believe that he might have attended a freak off?
Listen, I'm going to say this. I don't think he really knew to the extent of what he was entering. And I'm going to say that because until I know facts, I'm gonna go based on that.
Okay, let me ask the people. People, do you believe that TD Jakes attended just a party or a freak off? Let us know in the chat right now. But personally, for me, I don't think he attended it. I feel that he might have started but he was there during the daytime. At least the video we seen, TD Jakes was there during the daytime. And so
Uh-huh.
maybe he left. He was a responsible adult, had his little fun, and then he left. I don't know if he was there for the full extent until, the wee hours of the morning.
No, he
It could be
wasn't.
possible. But
No.
we don't know. And I feel that in the Little Rod lawsuit, because that's where TD Jakes is named. And I know you
Mm.
guys talked a little
Yes,
bit about him being in the lawsuit, but he's not a defendant. It basically just said Diddy was using TD Jakes as leverage. And so
that's
I asked you this. Don't pastors kind of use, the rappers and the different people as leverage to bring in a new audience, as well as Diddy was trying to change his image? So I feel like they were using each other more than they were having freak offs with each other.
well, I wouldn't say they were having freak offs with each other because I don't know that yet. But I do think that there were leverages trying to be on both parties. I
Mm-hmm.
do know, okay, TD Jakes is a smart guy. He's not dumb. He knows that if he gets in Diddy's camp, there's going to be something that he's going to want from Diddy. Okay. And
Mm.
being that Diddy at the time was a very powerful person in the music industry and in television and TV and all of that, there had to be something that I believe Bishop TD Jakes wanted that TD Jakes could provide. Now, it could be a business relationship or whatever that is, but I think there was leverage on both sides. Now, Diddy, I really think Diddy had less to get from TD Jakes than TD Jakes had to get from Diddy. Because to me,
Elaborate.
right, to me, Diddy has more to offer as far as in the industry. Well, had because he on the run right now.
Right.
But as far as in the industry and all the productions and everything that he's a part of. So being with TD Jakes was probably looking at that like he still is doing his movies. TD Jakes is doing his movies and his shows and all that. And he probably wanted to be able to get his stuff to be on a broader scope. And he probably
Right.
thought, okay, I could do this with Diddy, especially knowing that he has connections with Revolt. So he's like, okay, I need to get my shows on more syndications, more channels and stuff like that. And I believe he saw the opportunity to do that through Diddy.
Oh, so you believe that he was trying to get his shows, movies through
Oh, he
Revolt
was.
and okay, and leverage that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So question, is that a problem for him to go over to Revolt and put his shows on there?
I for me, and this is my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
I think it is because Revolt, when you look at what they produce and the type of shows that they produce, where does TD Jakes fit in that?
Fair enough.
I looked at the network. I looked at the network and looked at the shows that Revolt is producing, the shows that's on that channel. Where does TD Jakes fit in that? I didn't see it.
Mm,
I just myself, I didn't see it. Now
right.
he's on enough stuff already. And what happened with his collaboration that he was with OWN? What happened to all of that? That's a huge network.
Yeah, because wasn't TD Jakes with Oprah,
Of
also with
course.
Tyler Perry?
Yes.
Like, it's really, I don't like using the word a secret society, but,
No.
people with money hang out with other people with money. And it seemed like they all, uh, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, what did happen to the OWN? Like, that's a good question
Mhm.
because I knew he was supposed to, have shows, produce things, and
Mhm.
that went nowhere.
Mhm. Yeah, that was a big thing that he had with Tyler Perry and with Oprah Winfrey. So I'm not sure exactly why going over to Revolt was something that TD Jakes was looking at. We also know TD Jakes has his media production that he's doing too. So maybe he was looking at trying to get that to be larger. And that's why I say I think TD had more to gain from his connection from Diddy than Diddy
Mhm.
had to gain from TD Jakes. But we all know also, looking at a lot of these stories now, Diddy moves with purpose.
Exactly.
So
So I do
I'm sure.
believe that
Mhm.
Diddy tried to leverage a little
Of
bit
course.
too as well. And I think
Mhm.
also too, when you're trying to get in good with these execs, you have to go to the parties and stuff like that. So that's probably why he went to the Diddy party, because he's all like, okay, I need to show face, show that, I'm
He
cool,
did.
down to earth. Also, I get to mingle with other people because Diddy does know a lot of rich people. So it
Right.
definitely worked out on his end where he was like, okay, this is something I'm going to have to do. Even though I don't want to do it, I'm going to have to do it. And probably he wanted to do it.
Well, Christian Post had an article on this as we were talking in the green room, and
Hmm.
they stated that he went there because of this collaboration with Revolt. And he wanted to show face and happened to be in town. And so this all happened. They're saying that the timing was perfect. I don't know. For those of you who don't come for me, but this is what the Post is saying. And he was there with the assistant Derek Williams, and they were there together. And according to the Post, it stated that they weren't even there long. They took a couple of pictures, and they were out. So I don't know where all the stories are coming from about this long drawn out and how long. According to the Post, they said they weren't there, but just minutes maybe.
Right, right. Because the story started, and trust me, we're gonna progress as we go along.
Yeah.
The story originally started out that TD Jakes attends these parties, and then he has extramarital affairs and stuff like that. And then TD Jakes came out, and he said that wasn't true and all that stuff. And so then it seemed like the story grew legs, and then there
Mm,
was an individual by the name of Manasseh Jordan who just put a
mhm,
video out about church grooming. And we
mm,
know church grooming does happen. We're not excusing that or anything like that.
yeah, yeah.
But, he didn't put a name on it. But then that's when we kind of got into Larry Reid. He put his input on it and confirmed that it was that Manasseh was talking about TD Jakes. And then it was going to be like other victims coming forward and then a lawsuit, but nothing has happened. So this started in December, and
Mhm,
now we are finally in April, and nothing
mhm,
has happened to TD Jakes.
mhm.
Now, do you think anything is going to come from it, or was this just a story, a salacious story and a storyline to, I don't know how to say it without saying it.
When I first heard about this, I heard it on Larry Reid Live. And when I first heard it, I was like, I don't know. I questioned the whole thing because I
Mhm.
know the history that Manasseh had with his father, Bishop Jordan, and they're not having that relationship together. So I wasn't really like clinging, like, oh, this is, hot news, hot tea, and so forth, whatever. I wasn't really doing that. But
Right.
I did want to know that if Manasseh had been harmed in any way by the bishop, we want to know because usually when there's one, there's 10 others, maybe one, two, three, four. There's usually not just one.
Right.
So the only reason why I say I wanted to know if he had been harmed is because you don't want somebody else to go through the same hurt.
Hmm.
Not because I don't do the shows because I want y'all to hear this. I want you to hear. I want to make sure that the individual stops doing what they're doing and that the victim gets justice. That's the reason why I do these my shows. So
Right.
that's why I tuned in a little bit when I heard it that Manasseh was alleging this. But then when it wasn't going anywhere, and then Larry started coming on and saying, well, the lawyers didn't do anything yet and this or whatever. Now, and I was like, okay, so this to me sounds like a reach. And then I put the two together. In my opinion, when Bishop Carlton Pearson passed away, Bishop T.D. Jakes did not attend the funeral and did not have any dealings with these services for Bishop Carlton Pearson.
Mm.
That made Larry Reid upset. He even posted saying how he was unhappy with T.D. Jakes not honoring Bishop Carlton Pearson, probably as he would have liked him to have. And
Right.
so this all came during that time. So I was thinking maybe Larry is just upset with Bishop T.D. Jakes, and this is a way for him to grab and throw this out here, knowing that, it's not really valid, as he said. And the other
Right.
part that really got me was when he put up the two pictures with Bishop Eddie Long and TD Jakes with the same color shirt on. And I said, come on, Larry, you're reaching. So to me, it was like, okay, they're trying to come after him as a smear campaign, as just, a way to try and attack him. And it went a lot of ways. But that's when I started just backing off and saying, no, I don't think this is really creditable for my
Right.
thought. I didn't think it was really credible. I thought that maybe he was trying to be vengeful, allegedly, towards Bishop T.D. Jakes. And then when we haven't seen anything else, and every time Larry posts or goes live and says something about an update, there's never really an update. There has not been any filings that we've seen. Manasseh has even stopped talking about it. And we have not heard anything from his father, Bishop Jordan, about it. And so I don't, I think it's just a reach.
Right. And that was my thing too. Like, I wonder how his dad feels about all of this. Like,
We
this
haven't
has
heard.
to be strange, like this whole situation, because that's supposed to be Larry Reid's spiritual father, as he says,
Hmm.
but then he's like spearheading this campaign, because it feels that way, to take out TD Jakes, and then there has been nothing that came from it. It literally nothing happened. And I know there was some people who said, "Oh, well, I know things that have happened in
Yeah,
Texas and in
I got those
Dallas,
calls
and
too. Yeah.
I've been in these situations, and because I'm not in the church, they'll be like, you don't know what really goes on." And hey, I'm not saying that TD Jakes is a perfect man. I am
Correct.
definitely not saying that. But to put a jacket on a man that he's grooming and he's doing X, Y, and Z, and
Hmm.
there is no proof of that,
Hmm.
I can't do that. Did I believe it when they first said it? I was all like, I can believe it. I was like, okay,
Hmm.
I can see that happening. And then all of a sudden, when the details got murky and the water got really murky, I
Yeah,
was all like, this ain't making no sense. I'm like,
it wasn't.
where is this coming from? Because if you're really a victim and you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you're telling all this information, mind you, the information was told through a third party, aka Larry Reid. It was never told through Manasseh. The only
Right.
thing Manasseh said on his video, he was all like, "Yes, I am talking about TD." He didn't say TDJ. He just said, "I'm talking about TD." So that just let me know that maybe Manasseh felt pressure to put a name on it, but he wasn't going to pursue anything further. It was more like, um, he was just going to take us through his journey and stuff like that, because he did say that with therapy and stuff like that. So for
Mhm.
me, we're putting a jacket on a man that we don't even know if it's true or not. Now, do I think personally, and Juice, cover your ears real quick. Now, do I think that TD Jakes get down with the get down? He might like some eggplant parmesan every now and then. Yes, I do believe that TD Jakes like him some eggplant parmesan every now and then. But that's between him and his wife, and they probably got an agreement for him to eat eggplant parmesan every now and then. But other than that, or as people like to say, he likes to swallow. Have you ever been swallow eggplant parmesan? Yes, that is one thing. But we're not going to say that he's grooming people, and then, because also too, these are
I
situations with
cannot.
adults, so it's not the same as, because the Eddie Long, that's totally two different things.
Yes,
So go
yeah.
ahead, Juice. I'm sorry.
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear anything you said.
Okay.
But
And
listen,
make sure y'all hit that like button too, by the way.
that's right. Listen, I'm going to say this. Like you said that you've heard of some calls of some people. I actually got phone calls from people.
Mm.
Yes. I actually got phone calls from people telling me, yes, he did it. Yes, he did. Yes, he did it. But they did not want to come on the platform and say it. And they wanted me to say it. And I am not going to be your
Mm.
spokesperson. I'm not going to do that, because then the allegation holds on me. So
Right.
I said, if you want to come forward and say what you experienced, say it. But here's the thing. It wasn't that anything that TD had done anything to them. They're trying to say that I heard he did something to this other person. One of the people was actually my cousin, who's in the music industry, had called me and said, now he did this. I said, no, I don't know. I don't know. And if you know, you can come on the platform and have a conversation. But it was not that these are she was alleging he did anything to her. She's alleging that she's heard these stories. So I just don't run stuff like that based on people wanting me to put stuff in the wind, because I've got a brand to protect. And besides my
Right.
brand, thank you, Holy Spirit, I got myself to protect, my own, personality, and and that's more important than even the brand. So I just would not say anything. Now, let's put it out this way. If TD Jakes and other pastors are doing stuff like this, then it needs to be called out.
Right.
They don't need to hide it anymore. And this is one thing I tell people in our church news segment: stop hiding pastors when they do dirt. Stop hiding them. Because if you keep hiding them, then when that next victim sues that pastor, they need to sue you too, because you didn't say anything. And so you cause their demise as well. That's the way I see it. You knew he did it and you never told me. You never said anything to anybody. Then when you sue the pastor, sue all those other ones that said they knew also and wanted to cover it up. So if he is doing anything like that, he needs to get himself together, and
Right.
it's not right. Now, I don't know with Manasseh, and I'm gonna say this. I think Manasseh is a nice guy, but I even question, and this is probably going to be the first time I've said this on the platforms.
Oh, exclusive.
Exclusive. I question Manasseh and his preference of sexuality. We'll say it that way.
That was a great way of saying it. Yeah. Because to me, what it seemed like, and I don't know who O.C. Allen is, by the way, Soul Debonair. Shout out to Soul Debonair. I don't know who that is. I've never heard of him. Or him. But I felt that probably, okay, we're gonna get deep for a minute.
Yeah, let's do it.
I feel like as a man, as a heterosexual man, sometimes you might be propositioned and not by a woman. You might be propositioned by another man.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes you can question your own self. And I feel that Manasseh, instead of just questioning it, I think he was probably interested. And so him being interested in a certain sexual preference, it got to him and it's probably eating him up, because maybe he wants to be able to live his life out loud and he can't.
Right.
And so
And
I think it was an insecurity with him, but it's hidden with, oh, he groomed me.
Yeah, and that word groom, I said this when we did our one of a couple of videos we did on the TD Jakes situation. That word groomed, you guys, if you understand, if you know Manasseh, he's been in church ministry since he was a kid. Okay, his father was this huge, well, he still is, prophet, and he's been around for a long time. And Manasseh has followed in the footsteps of his dad, so they've been around some greats in the church world. So that word groomed has been in the church before it was in, I think, I don't know how I want to say this, we'll just say in the other realm, okay?
Right.
The sexual realm, we'll say. People, when I said this on my channel, they were like, no, groomed has always been, it had to do with, LGBTQIA plus or whatever. I said, no, it has not.
No.
If you have not been around long enough, I'm 57. I tell you, if you have not been along my age and generations even before me, that word groomed, when you mentioned it in the church back then, it meant that you were taking a young person and you were going to teach them the ways of the church so that they could either go out and minister, so that they can do fellowship, whatever they needed to do for the church. You were basically teaching them. Now, a lot of people came at me in the chats, and a lot of them, I think, were of the younger generation because they didn't understand. So they were getting confused with today's term. So I think, here's my thought. I think strategically that Larry Reid and Manasseh both used that particular word because they knew allegedly how it's used in church and how it's used in the other community. So if you would think, if you go to court and somebody says, oh, you said I groomed you, and you're thinking in a sexual manner, then you could turn around and say, no, I just said groomed. I didn't mean in a sexual manner. I meant as far as church. So I think there's a reason why that word groomed was used. And that's my thought. And I could be wrong. That's just the way I felt.
And again, I want to backtrack to something because I see people in the chat a little upset. So when you had said, as far as like you seen it and you don't say anything, you need to be in trouble too. You were referencing the people who say, "Oh, I've seen this" or "I know this," not the actual victim. So I just wanted to clarify.
Right. Right. I'm talking about, yeah, that if somebody, if some, let's do a scenario. If a pastor assaulted a young woman
Hmm.
and everybody in that church knew, but they never would say anything to stop that pastor, then everybody in that congregation is responsible for that new girl that comes in the door that
Right.
pastor allegedly will take advantage of. That's what I meant.
Right, because this even relates to the Diddy situation where you have former employees,
Hmm.
former security guards, and all this stuff. They're all like, "Yeah, we seen all of this." There's a guy by the name of Gene Deal who I always call out, and I'm all like, he's talking in first person, not third person, first
Ooh.
person. That he was there, he had his back turned, or he closed the door, but he was there in the vicinity, and he didn't do anything about it. So it's just like the church, but also in Diddy's world, these are powerful men. This is where they correlate with each other. They're
Yeah.
both powerful men, and they can go ahead and pay people off or pay
Yeah.
people for their silence. And it's sad that that happens. Like a lot of people won't talk and they won't say anything,
They
and they
won't.
just let it happen because one, I don't want to mess up my money. My money is still good. I don't want to mess up my money. Two, yes, they definitely could be scared. I did want to address that with the chat. Yes, they definitely could be scared and feel, well, this person's going to cause some harm because allegedly. Now
But
I
yeah.
haven't heard this about
Yeah.
TV,
Mhm.
but Diddy, yeah, they say he'll cause some harm to you, and
Right.
then also you might feel like, oh well, it's none of my business, so I don't want to say anything. So it's like,
But then that's how the cycle keeps repeating.
mm-hmm,
And that's when somebody has to be brave enough to stand up and say, although this may be hard for me to do, I need to do this because we need to be able to save other people. That's why we at the Juice Radio and Talk Show, if we hear stories of pastors doing so, I just got somebody sent me a story of a pastor who hired a hitman to kill Kay, his daughter's boyfriend. This is a pastor. This and so why shouldn't we flash his face on the screen and say this guy was doing this? Because we
right,
need to put a stop to it. We need to put a stop to it. And it also warns other pastors, if you do it, we're going to come after you too. So that's what I'm saying as a congregation, we got to stop covering the pastors. And this has been going on in churches for decades. As far back as people can remember, when pastors do dirt in church, the members cover it.
right.
And we've got to stop that. Again, if TD Jakes did this, it's going to have to be disclosed. It's going to have to be disclosed. And he's going to have to deal with the circumstances if he did it. But if he did not do it, then those that accused him of doing it are going to have to deal with their circumstances and the repercussions that will come to them.
Right, because I'm wondering if people are spreading false information about
Right?
him, will there, be some lawsuits, defamation, or will TD just let it go? Where we have Diddy, I don't see him pressing any, doing any lawsuits or defamation or anything like
I
that
don't think
because
so.
I think he's scared. We
Mhm.
haven't seen nobody raid TD Jake's homes.
Mhm.
And again, I want to say because a lot of people are saying that, oh well, they're probably going to interview TD Jakes. We don't know that. I can't
I
say
don't
that.
know.
I've been hearing some rumblings, and I'm all like, I honestly feel like people don't like that connection with them together. And you kind of expressed that you didn't like that connection either. But
I just didn't see that it was necessary. Now, I'm not
Mhm.
in the industry. Maybe I need to reach out to Derek Williams, who's the executive vice president, and say, okay, can you elaborate more on why you went with revolt and something like that? But I just didn't see it.
right. But I think also too, it's not how
It's
do I
not
put it?
uncommon.
Yeah, it's not uncommon. Like, I mean, all of them do it. Like that's why for me, like all of them do it.
Hmm.
I don't think there is one that doesn't do it. They all leverage, celebrities and stuff like that, bring in more money. Like because in that case, Juice, we have to condemn them all, like Joel Osteen and all of them, right?
You would, you would. But I bet you this is really opening up the eyes of a lot of these ministers. When they go forward now, they're going to probably be a little more cautious about the steps and who they're connecting with. And we're going to have to see how it goes. But they all I won't say all, but there are a large majority who probably have some dealings that they probably should not have had dealings with.
Right, right. Also, too, I just thought about this. Do you think that TD Jakes being connected to Diddy has ruined his brand or his image or anything
No,
like that? I personally feel like it has.
no,
Okay, yeah, you agree with that too. I don't
no.
feel like it affected it at all. I think if
I
anything,
think
he's
it
been
did
getting
affect it.
sidestepped. Oh,
I
go
think it did affect him some because there are some people that will leave because of the accusations. They will leave because of
ahead.
the discomfort. So I believe it did affect him. But like Tasha K came back, she was over a million before this Cardi B thing happened. Then she dropped under 900. And now she's back over a million. So eventually they will come back. But I think it did hit him slightly. I would say, but I don't think it's going to ruin him. I don't think it's going to stop him. I don't think it's going to dismantle him. I think he will continue now. He's going to probably deal with a lot through the process, but TD Jake's brand is still TD Jake's brand. It's not going nowhere.
Mm. I agree with you. I definitely agree. I think as far as Diddy now, I feel like even if no charges come, I feel like it's kind of over with just because with mind you, before even the feds um what am I trying to say? Raided his home. He already had 4 lawsuits already, and so now with
Mhm.
this, it doesn't look good. But then I also think of this too. Um, I've never heard of the feds doing a raid and then them just being all like, "Oh, it's nothing," we just did
Oh
that.
no.
Or
Oh, no. They play that cat and mouse game real good.
mm,
They play. Let me tell you, the feds. You would think that they're sleeping, and they're wide awake. So they're very
mm,
patient. They're very patient with what they do. Listen, this thing with the feds and Diddy did not happen overnight. This has been ongoing for quite some time, I believe, allegedly. So the feds they don't sleep. They don't sleep. And it's gonna, they're gonna take their time and make sure they do it right.
right.
Hmm.
Let me see. Where's the discernment for TD Jakes? Um, with TD, it's about concerning because he has no discernment that Diddy was a bad idea. That's a good question. And we kind of talked about that. I feel personally it's just about the money, and then
Yeah.
yeah, I think Juice said the same thing. She just said she
Mhm.
didn't too much, understand their relationship. But for me, I said, well, they all do it. Like I don't think when it comes to business necessarily you think about God. Oh, that didn't sound right. But just help me out. Help me out.
I would say this: when you do business, if you are a real God believer, then you will believe that God will provide for you even without someone who's a billionaire. God can make you a
Mm,
billionaire. You don't have to go to a billionaire to become a billionaire. You just need to go to God. And I think
mm,
that's where a lot of pastors get it mixed up. They think they have to go to the billionaire to become a billionaire when God is the one that says he owns it all. And he could create a billion in you instead of you trying to go to the billionaire. So we just got to be able to understand who God is. And I think sometimes, thank you, Holy Spirit, I think sometimes some of these pastors get lost in the earthly realm and forget the power of the same God that they preach and teach about every Sunday in their pulpit. They
mm,
forget that the same God they are preaching to is the same God that will manifest dreams and miracles and billions for them and their members. And when they forget it, they then feel like, oh, well, I'm gonna just go over here because he got these billions, and I'm gonna just go ahead and use him because the wealth of the wicked, is laid up for the just. That's the famous line they like you to use the famous verse. But these
mhm,
pastors have to get themselves and their congregations and their staff back to remembering that God is still God, he's still real, and you do not have to go to the world to get what you need. You just need to go to God, and God will bring the world to you.
mm. Question: should a pastor be rich? I
I
feel
don't
like
mind
they
a
shouldn't be
pastor being
rich.
rich. I don't mind a pastor being rich. Who want to deal with a
Mm.
broke pastor? Who want to deal with a broke pastor? Who want to deal with a broke pastor? You try to
Well,
tell me I can have all this wealth and all this stuff and you broke? I mean, I don't mind a pastor being broke, but I'm just saying, I get so tired of people saying pastors can't be rich. Now, here's the thing. What are you doing with the wealth, though? That's
mm.
the thing. What are you doing with the wealth? Now, we can't go out and pay your members' light bill if you can't pay your own.
Right.
So I don't got no problem with pastors having wealth, but I got a problem with them abusing the wealth and misusing the wealth. That's what I have a problem with.
Right. Kimmy, that's a good question. I've never heard of a broke pastor before.
Oh yeah, they out there.
Oh,
They
okay. So for me personally, I feel like the pastors should live a comfortable life. I wouldn't necessarily say rich. Like they do have to struggle, but I feel like, well, also too, I feel like it depends. Like somebody like a TD Jakes, a Joel Osteen, they kind of have a certain audience, an affluent audience, where compared to, Pastor Thomas in the hood, he has a totally different audience, and he's not going to get the same kind of exposure and money and stuff like that because it's a different audience. But somebody who is preaching to an affluent audience and they got the money and the coins, yeah. But however, I don't feel like we should see your net worth in the hundreds of millions, 100 million, 200 million, all that. I feel like your income should be about a modest, or your net worth should be a modest, I would say 200,000 at the most. I
Here's
feel
the
like
thing.
all the money you're getting, it need to go back into the people in the church. What Jesus did, he made sure that it went back to the people.
Let me
Like I just feel like you can't. If you eat, all your people got to eat. That's how I feel.
let me tell you this. Y'all may not want to hear this, but I'm gonna tell y'all something. At
Let me
one
cover my
time,
face.
at, at one time in the Bible, Jesus was broke. Let me tell
Mhm.
y'all when he had to pay the taxes, and he did not have enough money to pay the taxes. And he sent the disciple to go fishing. Why? Because the money was in the mouth of the fish. Jesus at one time was broke. He didn't have enough money to pay the taxes. But thank you, Holy Spirit. He did not go to all the rich people in the area and say, I need to collaborate with you because I need to get money. He went to the Father and said, Lord, basically said, I need this money to pay these taxes. And not only do I need enough money for me to pay the taxes, I need enough money for my disciple to pay the taxes. And that's when he went fishing and found the money in the mouth of the fish. So God provided a miracle for him. And I believe that particular passage in the Bible is so that we can understand God would get the money to you however way he want to get it to you, as long as you see that it's a miracle brought on by God and you give him back the glory and the praise. And that's what I believe that verse is. He not only had enough money out of the mouth of that fish to pay his taxes, he had enough to pay his disciples' taxes as well. Now, going back to all that, I don't mind pastors having money, but if God blesses you with an abundance amount of money, it is not just for you. It is for those that have helped you along the way and others that are coming. So I have
Right.
a problem when I see pastors that got all this money and they wearing it all on their clothes. They got all this high expensive stuff, driving all these cars that they really don't need, having 10, 15 jet or purchases and stuff like this. That's the kind of thing that I don't like to see.
Okay,
This is
splurging
like,
on the luxurious,
right,
the luxuries and stuff like that.
right.
That's what you have a problem with.
There's a
Okay.
guy, David E. Taylor. I don't know if you saw him, but if you want to Google him, David E. Taylor. He had a
Mhm.
whole situation that was going on where there was an indictment and everything because he was misusing, abusing church funds.
Mm.
That type of thing. When you get all this money, he even said in his in the conversation when they had him sitting in the little chair talking to the speaker, I forget her name was, but when they were talking to him, he said he don't even wear the same suits twice, and he gets all his suits allegedly were Italian made, and he never have worn the same
Mhm.
suits twice. That kind of stuff is wasted money. So if God's going to bless a minister to be able to get all these funds, then use it properly. There should not be one person in your congregation that's crying because they don't have their lights turned on if you've got millions and billions of dollars in your account. It should not be that way.
Right, right. And I don't know also too if TD Jakes looks out for his people and makes
He
sure
d
they're
he
good.
he has organization. Yes, he does have. I looked up, you and there are several
Okay.
sites that you can see. He does have where he goes out and he helps. But again, people, if you're sitting in a church congregation, I want to say this, and you need funds, go to your church. Talk to them and tell them you need some assistance. But just don't go to church just to get assistance. But if you're in a mega church like that, go and have that conversation.
Right. And one thing too, because I want to draw it back to Diddy, is that what would TD Jakes and Diddy have in common, as far as them, being photographed together, hanging out, like, because, Diddy is an unmarried man, multiple kids with different baby mamas and stuff like that.
Okay, go
Like,
82. Mhm.
I mean, did you really guide him into anything? Like, what did you help him with? Because
Mm.
I mean, if you really helped him, it doesn't seem like he would be in this kind of situation.
Listen, that's the question that we all need to ask. That is the question. The only connection that I found that I'll be talking about later is this revolt. That's the
Mhm.
only thing that I found for this connection. And if anything else that is actually legit, verifiable, then I'll. If you have it, send it to me. You can email it to me or DM me, whichever one.
Right. And so Debonair asked a great question, because I know a lot of people have been saying it. It's like, well, why can't they splurge? Why can't they do this? And I don't think necessarily it's a problem. Like, do I think if you're a mega pass, or you have a mega church, should you be living in the hood? No, I don't think you should be living in the hood, because of safety things. When you have a certain amount of money, no, you should not be living in the hood. However, your life shouldn't be so opulent. I believe your life should be modest. And if you want to live in a gated neighborhood, I definitely
It's
get it.
okay. That's
But if
okay.
you are eating off of gold silverware and stuff like that, I have a problem with that. Or if you have a yacht, I have a problem with that. If you're
I
hanging
think. I
around
think.
unsavory people
Yeah.
like a Diddy, I have a problem with that. Go ahead, Juice.
It's the excess. It's the excess when
Yes,
you take
excess.
the funds and you waste it. That's the problem. Perfect example. The so-called called himself Bishop Whitehead. The
Mm,
excess. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, the Brooklyn Path. Yeah, that's him,
yeah.
Whitehead. That's the ridiculousness of it. But yes, pastors should be okay to have, like you said, the gated communities and so forth. But if you're going to be a pastor, then you're going to have to be cautious about what type of associations you have with people that are not of the same belief that you are. And TD Jakes may have been mentoring. I don't know.
Mhm.
But I think this is going to be a big wake up call for a lot of ministers that are out there right now that are in business dealings, maybe with people
Right.
that are different. Mhm.
And last thing on TD Jakes, his
Yeah,
silence, because he has not said
he
anything. He
needs
has
to
not
stay
came
quiet.
out and said,
He
"Hey,
needs to
Diddy
stay
is good
quiet.
people." Should he come out as a man of God and say something, or lay hands on him, pray for him? Should he do any of that?
First of all, he does not need to lay hands on anybody right about now. So now is not the time. Okay, because you don't want somebody to say they were touched inappropriately. You can touch them on the forehead, and somebody's gonna come up and say you don't touch me inappropriately. So right now, don't do nothing. Don't put no hands nowhere.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
nothing. Right.
but I don't think that he should say anything right now. And there's too much going on, too much circulating, and things will be taken out of context. Things will be misconstrued. He already said enough when he said the famous line "swallowed." That was more than enough. He don't need to say anything else right now. And I wish he would not have. I feel like he was in his flesh when he did that. I wish he would have never done that.
You know,
Got
to
it.
be fair, I don't know the full context of the swallow thing.
Yeah.
Because I've only heard the swallowed. Have you ever been swallowed? That's the only part that I've heard. So I'm all like, what's the full context? Because let's be honest, Juice, you never had to deal with this, but a lot of people will take little small clips of something
They
I
do.
said and they'll replay it on their channel. And so, like, no, there's a larger context to
It
that.
is.
But
Yeah.
of course, they're only going to pick up the part that sounds funny or dumb and then replay it on their channel and create a narrative. So I've
Yeah.
never heard the full sermon of, whatever he was trying to say with the swallow. So I don't know that. I don't think anything about swallowing was in the Bible at all. So I'm a little confused.
Yes, it was. It was with Jonah when Jonah was swallowed by the whale. Yeah.
Oh, that's what. Okay, so it was relating to. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's what it was. See, I learn something new every day. Thank you. Okay, Jonah in the well. That's
You're
why.
hilarious. You're hilarious.
You know what? Real quick, this is not on the docket, but
What's up?
the SWV Escape Show is coming back on, and as you guys may know or may not know, Juice invited me on with other content creators as well too, and we got to interview Pastor Scott,
Yes.
Latasha, and
Tamika.
Tamika's dad, and that was an awesome moment. So the show is coming back on. Like, what are your feelings about it?
I am so excited about it. I really am. I don't see Tasha on the docket though. I don't see her on there. Is she on there?
I heard that she is not going to be a part of it. That's why I was asking you.
I'm kind of happy. But no, I have not gotten in-depth information on that. When I talk to Pastor Scott, I just, hey, how you doing? He's my friend. I love him and his wife Angela. I don't go in deep about the family and all that kind of stuff. They, offer information to me and stuff. And a lot of the information they've offered, I don't even air because they are my friends. And I don't want them hurt, and so I normally don't. But I am happy for Tamika. I'm happy for her. I'm happy for the ladies. I think they do great work, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. And they have tour dates, so it seemed like
Yes.
this season they're gonna have a tour. So hey, that's money in the bag. So I'm glad they were able to put that together.
Yeah.
So the next topic that I had was regarding Larry Reid, actually. And he had posted something, and I guess people got offended. So he kind of had to post an update. And it was all like, I hope I didn't offend with my last post, but obesity and the bad diet taking the black church out. Hence, we lost so many during the Cora, which he's talking about Coviana, the 19, for those of y'all who don't know. I have actively hired doctors, trainers, ordered meds for those I know in the struggle. I've even paid for gastric surgery. I see it for what it is. It's a life shortened for most. We gotta not be okay with it and help our loved ones and family members. Pull them to the side and tell them you want them to live. Now, you know what the crazy part is? Like, at first I was all like, oh, this is kind of shady. But then I was all like, there are, just in the African American community in total, we suffer from obesity, and we can get into the history of it. But in the church, I noticed, like, okay, yeah, there are bigger people in the church. So is it just a church thing, or is it just a community thing?
I think it's both. And remember, the church is a large part of the community.
Right.
So when you actually sent me this, and I don't follow Larry like that. I used to back in the day, but then I just been stepping away and doing some stuff. But when you sent me this, it's interesting because I am also one who says that the church does need to do better on its health with the members because there is a lot of sicknesses in the church. There's a lot of obesity in the church. And it is something that they do need to get taken care of. I myself, and I am overweight myself. I need to take better care of myself. And I think sometimes that overindulgence is big. And this is something that I've been saying myself also, that I want to find some sort of team or something that we can all get to, we can lose weight and bring it into the church to help the church to do that, because there is a lot of obesity in the church. There is.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I wonder, maybe because of the, I don't want to say demanding schedule, but maybe it's not prioritized as far as health, because when it gets to a certain point, like I feel that, whoa, you kind of went too far, or like, dang, how'd you get that big or something like that. But it literally just happens, like, one day you've been able to put on your pants, and then one day it gets tighter and you're like, oh shoot, oh shoot, my pants ain't fitting no more, and
Yeah.
so it just kind of happens. But
Yeah.
there's never really a conversation about weight, or proper dieting and stuff like
Mhm.
that. We know after church we gonna go to a restaurant or something like that, and we all gonna
After
eat,
church,
chill,
something. Mhm.
yeah, exactly, after church
After
supper,
church.
exactly.
Yep.
It's a
And not only
thing.
that, we don't speak enough about it. There's a lot of things we need to have more communication within the church. And better health is one of them. It's one of the leading things that I think we need to start doing. We have the church, you go to church, you spend 3-4 hours in church, and you want to go and eat at the buffet, and you want to sit there until it's dinner time, and you just eat and all the events that you have. You look at some of these churches, when you go to some of these events, and the food that they have out there for you to eat, it's not towards the healthy foods that we need to start eating on. And it's not mentioned in church. It is not mentioned in a lot of, there are some churches that are focusing on better health. There's
Mm-hmm.
one pastor, I got to remember his name. He's put it in his church right now, and he's really going gung ho. And he
Mm.
dieted and lost the weight naturally. I think he said it took him 3 years, and now he's teaching his church how to do it. I forget the young man's name, but I'll pull it up and I'll put it in your comments later. But
Okay.
he is one that is doing it, and there are a few others that are doing it. But as the large majority, I have not really seen it. And a lot of these pastors, bishops, first ladies, and members, all of us need to
Mhm.
do a lot better, because remember, the pastor's going to say who needs healing, who needs prayer, and people going to come up, and it's something that we should be able to control ourselves. Some of the things, not all the things, so don't come at me in the comments. Don't, not all the things, but some of the stuff that we put on ourselves is glutton, and that's in the Bible also. And we're not supposed to be glutton, not supposed to be big. We're supposed to take care of these bodies. The Bible calls our bodies temples. We're supposed to take care of it, and we're not doing more that we should to focus on it. So
Mhm.
I think sometimes the way Larry say stuff, he may mean well, but because he is such a jokester, sometimes it comes off arrogant and negative. And
Yeah.
then because he's changed his lifestyle, um, sometimes people aren't so ready to accept what he says.
Right. And I think also too, people have to be receptive to it. And
Yeah,
sometimes if you're not the best messenger of things, people
yeah,
aren't going to be receptive of it. And this
hmm,
is kind of like what Sharon was saying. She said you can say something, but the way you say it can hurt. You can
absolutely.
focus on health with education and making it an entire church lifestyle.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that,
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's kind of hard to tell people like, oh yeah, you're getting kind of big, or oh dang, you getting fat. Like you can't really tell people that. Like, come on now. But I
Well,
think
the church
changing the
mothers
culture.
can't. The church mothers do that all the time. Back in the day, they used to do it all the time. There's you gaining a little weight there, sugar. You know, you need to lay off the pies. You need to do the push away method. Push away from the table, baby. They used to tell you that all the time. The church mothers used to get you all together. Meanwhile, they needed to lose weight themselves, but they weren't looking at them. But they used to get us all together back in the day. But church mothers are non-existence right now, and I think we need to bring it back.
Mm.
But people, they will look at you and they will not discuss it. I did have somebody told me, oh, you got a little healthier, and I was like, really? And they're like, no, you got a little hefty. And I'm like, oh,
Oh,
okay.
oh, they said hefty. Oh
I thought they
wow.
were saying healthier, and they were like heftier. And I was like, oh, I was like, well, let me go get me a gallon of water and start today.
Right. crazy.
Oh my
But
goodness.
Juice, is there anything else you would like to say before we get out of here?
I do want to say this to the viewers, subscribers, and those that will be watching this on the replay. I know everybody has their opinions, and being in America, we have the privilege to be able to have our own opinion and share our own
Mhm.
opinion and thoughts of subjects and matters. I want you to think two things. If this were you, what would you want people to be saying about you and
Mm.
believing about you? And then the other thing is be cautious, because though the world may not do anything towards you for something false that you put out about somebody, that's not the world you should be worried about. It's that spiritual realm that will come after you. And that is something that can overtake anything that this world can do to you. So a lot of people say, I don't care what people say. Nobody can do nothing to me. I'm untouchable. But the spirit realm can touch everybody. And so that's why I
Right.
try and be as cautious as I can about subjects and topics and conversations, even when I get in the comment section. Because one, you one day could be that story. And a lot of people say, no, it could never be me. Never be me. Maybe TD Jakes thought
Mm.
it would never be him. Maybe Diddy thought it may never be him. But be careful, because when you're going to comment on something or someone, before you do it, think of it. Okay, if this were me or my family member or my husband, what would I want a commenter to say? And then the other thing is, if you think you're going to get away with it on earth, that spiritual realm is going to come back, and you're going to have to pay restitution for what you said
Mm.
or did to somebody.
Right,
Just be cautious.
right. Definitely.
Yeah.
And I just want to clarify for the people that feel like, if we excused, they feel like we ignored victims and excused
No.
anybody. It's not that at all. If anything, we're just saying, like, hey, for me to jump on my platform and say that this person is X, Y, and Z, I need evidence, proof, everything. There needs to be lawsuits filed. There needs
Mhm.
to be something concrete. Anybody can come to one of us, and Juice said she actually got the phone calls. I didn't.
Mhm.
I just heard word of
Mhm.
mouth. But concrete proof that yes, this stuff happened. And just like you said, you have to be the one. If you've seen the story or you know it, you have to be the one to tell it. I'm not going to tell it for you because I don't know that to be true. And
Yeah.
I'm going to wait until I hear it,
Yeah.
until I say something like that. So, we're not saying that man is perfect. And,
No.
definitely we're not saying TD Jakes
No.
is perfect at all. But what
Mm-mm.
we're saying is that for us to jump off the ledge and say, like, this is a fact
Oh
100%
no.
true,
Mm-mm.
we need the proof and evidence. So that's what I
Right.
wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
But shout out to the Juice
Well,
Radio and
thank you
Talk
so much.
Show.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
Yes, and thank
Appreciate
you
you,
for being
82.
here. And I
Yes.
dropped your link too, so
Thank
hopefully
you.
people will subscribe to the channel as well too.
We
Thank
look
you,
forward
Jackie. I
to it.
appreciate that.
We look forward. And
Hopefully
I do want to say this, that if TD
Mhm.
Jakes has done this or any other pastors are doing this, listen, we will have the conversation on the platforms as well. We will still keep it as respectful, as polite as we can, but we will have the conversation. But we do need concrete evidence, more than just two side by side people of a shirt. So we do need to have more information on that. And there have been great men of God that have come down. They tried to hide and tried to lie about situations that they did as well. And eventually the truth came out, because one thing that the Bible does say that a lot of people know, what you do in the dark will come to light, and eventually it will show up so that we could all see it and have that discussion together. And we'll do
Right.
just
Any positive words for Diddy?
that. Did he do it? Did he do it?
Did he do it?
Only positive word I can say for Diddy is he knew this day was coming.
Mm.
I do believe that he knew that eventually this day would come.
I don't
And
believe he was sidetracked at all. He knew it.
I believe he knew that eventually this day would come, and eventually the money will run out, I think, allegedly, and he's going to have to deal with it. And that internal stuff that he's dealing with, you guys, is probably worse than all the other stuff that's outside. That internal stuff can take you down far before anybody else outside you
Mm.
can take you down. So that's what I would say.
You
Just
right
come
about
clean.
that.
Come clean. Confess
Yes,
it
come
all.
clean. It's the time to do it. Just come clean.
That's
Well,
right.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank
This
you,
has been an
82.
amazing show. I'm definitely going to have you come back. I'm definitely going to have you come back. And I would love if you came back with everybody else too.
I would love it. I
You
would
know,
love to have the
Key,
team
Jennifer,
here.
yeah, everybody. Yes, bring
Yes,
them
they
all
love
next
you.
time. And we'll
I
definitely have a
definitely
good
would.
conversation. But thank
Absolutely.
you
Thank
for
you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much for even thinking about me. 82, you have been there with me from day one when I had 300 subscribers. You were there with me. And I really appreciate you. I love you. I adore you. I admire you. I respect you. And I am so grateful that God put you in my life. I will defend
oh.
you. I will, people say windmill. I don't have to windmill. All I got to do is call on the name of the Lord and he answers my prayer. So I
Woo!
got you. Okay. I got you. Very appreciative to you and everyone in the chats. Thank y'all so very much. Appreciate you, 82.
Yes, no problem. You guys have a great night. And I always like to say before we end, make sure you tell somebody you love them before you go to
That's
bed.
right.
Love
That's right.
y'all. Deuces,
My
everybody. We
famous
out.
lives.